What's going on, everybody? Luke here again, bringing you an updated video on the buy box suppression issue or change. So obviously I did a video before showing that something's changing. Is there going to be huge changes on the horizon for that Amazon are implementing with the buy box to make them more competitive across the board? Because as we all know, many of the items that Amazon sell are at the perfect price, as in they are usually the cheapest, but there's the other side of the coin where the products we sell, obviously those are usually not the cheapest in the market because we're actually getting them at a source price and then making money on it. Really, that shouldn't exist. If Amazon want to be the most competitive and the best, in theory they could. Obviously, they've got the customer service side on point. The best in the world, you could almost say, in terms of customer satisfaction. Maybe not, but that's the sort of angle they're going for. Service, then customers first. But the pricing side of it, a lot of the items aren't, the cheapest, and maybe their long-term strategy is to have every product at least matching the retail price. Because I know that in the past they've done stuff that I've heard, maybe not when I've been selling, but I've heard that you weren't allowed to sell it for more than a certain percentage above what you purchased it for and stuff. And I don't know if that's true, but I have heard that in the past, so that has been something that they were trying to implement, but in the end didn't. And it's maybe, obviously if you've seen the first video, I go into detail and all the reasons why and all that sort of thing. This is an update. So the reason I'm doing an update is because I've been monitoring it, maybe not every day, but yeah, I'm just having a quick check, at least every couple of days to see, just so I can keep myself familiarized with any changes. Yeah. So I'm not thinking, oh, was that in the bite? Was that suppressed before? No, yes, maybe. I don't know. I can't remember anymore. So I'm just keeping an eye on the listings and watching any changes. Now, as I mentioned before, it seems to be on a Friday every 3 weeks so far. That's the only common denominator I sort of match. So I think it would be like in about two weeks, or yeah, tomorrow, 2 weeks tomorrow. But I mean, that's just some random thing I come up with anyway. Now, this is obviously a suppressed listing, right? Let's get into it. This is a suppressed listing. It's, well, it wasn't selling for a while anyway, but it's irrelevant. As you can see here, this is what it looks like when it's suppressed. There's no buy box. You can't come over here and click buy. You can't buy the product and add to cart off this page. You've got to drill through onto the new. Problem with that is that anyone at the top here is going to be basically the person that you buy off. Yeah, so obviously no one's going to scroll down here and buy. So it causes basically penny underpricing, more than what it would have before. Yeah, because you're trying to be at the very top of that. So it's, I've had items where I'm not sure if they don't potentially change, if they're stuck in suppression mode or whatever. I luckily can and basically there's no way to sell them, because what's happening is some of the listings are actually looking like that. As soon as they haven't got a buy box, no one's buying it, so they're basically now probably just obsolete. There's no way you can even sell it, even if you crash the price, because it's just got no buy box, and everyone, as you know, most people will buy through the buy box. Luckily, I've got quite a lot of grocery stuff, so if I really want, I can recall my chocolate spread and have lots of chocolate spread on top. Luckily it's not on. I think I've got 4 packs of Ritz. I guess I'll just chump those over the weekend. That sort of thing. The issue is that you can't really resell it anywhere else. So there's certain shower gels I've got here that I've had to recall. Not this one, but others. And I can probably try to get £5 off face. But it's really getting a bit petty when you get to it's almost just worth keeping it and using it, and then not having to buy that sort of stuff. Luckily, I have got. I guess I'm in the fortunate position of being like that, rather than having lots of toys, for example, or Lego, where it's not quite as easy as straightforward as that. And luckily, a lot of the items aren't that expensive either for me. But this is what I've noticed. So this is a suppressed listing, okay? And you might think, obviously I wanted to check what listings were suppressed. Now the easiest way that what I've been doing is I've been going into my Amazon account. If you go into inventory and you just basically go into the very first option, you can, it basically shows you your catalog. So every item you've ever added to Amazon, it will give you the list of all the items. If you filter that by available stocks, obviously you want to know which ones are affected, but you actually want to know a lot of those listings may be old anyway, so you want to ignore them and just focus on the ones where you have stock. Filter by obviously available stock. So obviously at the top you've got you know whatever of 30 of something or 20 of something, and if you look on the far right hand side, it will basically show what the buy box price is. Looks something similar to this. So it will give you a little price like this. This is BQ. Now I'm just showing you some old listings for me. You can either do it the way I just said or this way. And here you can see it's, you know, if you're in the buy box, it's ticked. If it's obviously a different price to what you are, then it gives you the price of the buy box. You carry on going down, you can see there's actually a blank. And obviously if you click through to it, which is the very docs I just went on about, you can see that the item is now obviously not got a buy box. So if you filter by quantity here, again, the same way as mentioned on the other thing, you can then look at the buy box and scroll through and basically very quickly be able to see which items are affected. Now, there's a couple of things I've noticed. More items, of course, like I said on the other video, are being suppressed. But what's also happening is items are actually reverting back to what they were before. Now I'll go into an item. This is a dog food product, yeah. You can see the price here. Now before, it actually didn't have it, so it basically always had a buy box like most things did, and this then got suppressed. Now it's got the buy box again, as you can see here. The price is here. If you come down, you can add to basket straight off the buy box, you know, straight off the page, not having to drill through into here. Now I'll just prove it to you as well. So you can see here, this thing's selling, and then you can see just here that there's a buy box all the way up to about, what is that, April the 29th. Yeah, but then there's now no buy box. You can see this little like pink thing doesn't exist anymore. It's now just new sell, you know, that new seller icon. So here, and you can see the sales as well. Let's go to like 3 months. The sales were a little bit less. Well, it's only really sold once in that period there, you see. So sales are affected, not necessarily always, because if it's still a popular product, it's still going to be a popular product. People want it, they're still going to find a way to add it to their cart. But this product stopped having a buy box for, I guess it must have been around a week then, because that's like Monday the 29th of April, and it's only the 9th of May today. But now, obviously, as you can see, it's now got the buy box again. Now, you know, another couple of tactics I would have tried as well is trying to get the system to force you to get the buy box and then trying to raise your prices again up to see where the buy box is lost. So if there's an item that's still, you know, it's been stuck in suppressed for a while, you don't think it's going to come out, I've been looking at all my break-even prices, lowering, like forcing the price to go to my break-even price to see if it gives you at what, you know, if the system allows you the buy box at that cost, because that would be that would be recommended retail price, I guess, wouldn't it? Because you're setting it at 0 break-even. To see if it can get you in, and you know, I'm gonna wait and see, because I've noticed ones are reverting back, but otherwise I'll either recall them or I'll break even on them. But also it could be an opportunity. Okay, so now what do I mean by that? Well, now when people are searching for products, they may not buy the product because it's not got a buy box. So you know, when you get product leads, if you notice that it hasn't got a buy box, you usually leave it because the price as it used to always be. If the price looked like, you know, this, then it's too expensive. You know, there's no competition in the product, and it's probably too expensive because there's no buy box. Yeah. So usually I would, and because of that, if you actually look back, you would always notice that the actual real price where the buy box has been given is not the price that it currently is, because usually that's when there's not many sellers and the price is too high. Yeah. But what you could do is you could go in and try to see if there's any other FBA sellers, and if there's not, then you could get in as an FBA seller and be one of the only FBA sellers on a product, because everybody else doing FBAs decided not to sell it. I've noticed on a couple that, for example, some of the products that are still selling, so this one isn't like this, but some of my products that are still selling, even though it hasn't got a buy box, no one's restocking that product because there's no buy box. So they're obviously selling out, or they've recalled the stock because it's not, you know, they've done whatever they've done. But now there's only like 5 people on the listing, where before there might have been, say, 12 to 15, because no one's and now I can slowly increase my price, you know, above the merchant fulfilled price, because the competition's less, so I might be able to make a bit more money. Yeah, you may not be able to make as many sales because there's no buy box, but if the product's still a product that's selling, you can actually raise your prices in the sort of slightly longer term. And another interesting thing that I did see is this is a Lego product. Okay, now, being a bit stupid, I bought a couple of these the other day, only because I was doing some RA and I was just trying it all out again. I should have actually logged into my Keeper on my phone properly, but I didn't. I did it on that little Facebook app thing, and it must have been in this little gap when Amazon weren't selling, even though they actually were there, which is weird. They were actually still there. But what I noticed is with this product, it doesn't actually show you on here at all as well, which is very bizarre. For about 4 days, Amazon held that buy box at $84.99. Now, I don't know if it actually, I mean, it doesn't show you here. I don't know why. Because I had this item and I was like, oh, what do I want to do with it? Do I just hold for Christmas, which is pretty much, you know, I'll have to, at least there is breaks where Amazon aren't selling it, you know, and it sells, but I haven't got too many. I've got a handful, so it's not the end of the world. But I noticed that Amazon, so it said that Amazon weren't even here, which it shows it's a little bit slow. Maybe this is just a random example, but it was a bit slow to catch up. You can see it's now there, but though it was, you know, when they weren't, and it was selling for, they had the buy box at $84.99. I couldn't figure it out, because go on here, I mean, I know they're there at the bottom, but look at all the, you know, the cheapest FBA here is $28.70, and it goes on and on and on as it would normally. So how did it even get? And it wasn't just for 5 minutes, you know, it wasn't like it was just a random thing. I checked back on like a couple, you know, I had it left open like as a tab, and I actually went and just refreshed it just to see like what's, you know, there's, normally I wouldn't necessarily care too much, but it's just because there's been buy box changes that it's like they're just trying, you know, it's like a virus has got into the buy box algorithm, and it's just doing random things. Like, it's just you know. But what I'm hoping for is that, you know, where you can see that sales is so what's happening is if we're getting forced to potentially lower our prices, because that's why there's no buy box, it wants us to lower our prices, but that means also sales are getting affected. You know, because there's no buy box, so people aren't buying it as off, you know, because if you look at, I know there's lots of plugins on here, but if you know, if you're a bit older, for example, and you come on here, there's no button, you know, on most websites you have a product and you have a buy button, like literally just add. Here it's like there's no, and people might get a bit frustrated and just go, you know, well, I'll go on the next listing, like, because obviously they probably would have just typed in like Radox, for example. And they can just go back and find one that actually has a price and just jump, you know what I'm trying to say? And then jump on that, like just go back and then click on the next one, because it's just too confusing for them. Because, you know, obviously, we know most people their buying habits is through the buy box like this. very easy to see. Literally just click. I know that I have this, and so therefore it goes a bit different, but that would be at the very that would be on the like right in visual frame, and it's just interesting to see that, and the system may basically figure out that they're actually making less money, because if even if they're making sales, they're actually making less from us as third party providers, because we are getting forced to lower our prices, and they're not doing as many sales. Yeah. So it might be that they think, well, what's the point on that? Because the fees we're getting is less, and we're getting less sales, so we're getting less of that cut. So it's almost like a double impact potentially, and the system must be built in such a way that it knows these things. Even if it's not directly going to change, at some point, someone if you go, oh, well, why have we sold this many less units of, I don't know, shower gels? Oh, because none of them have a buy box. Oh, okay, well, let's change it back because that's not going to benefit the business. Yeah, doesn't mean it will happen, but it's very, that's a very straightforward. If this is causing you to do something, well, how do you not, and you're losing money, how do you change it so you're not losing money? Well, you change it back, or you change it in a way. You know what I'm trying to say. So it is very interesting what's happening, and the good thing that I've noticed is that things are retaining the buy box. Not just one item. I've had a handful. I've had about 3 or 4. But it's very difficult to know what's going in and out of buy box, because obviously you've got so many items. That's why you almost need to just check it daily. Even it literally takes me about 2 minutes. I just go into my inventory, I scroll through, just like on the BQ thing right here, and I literally just, you could count them up and keep a tally on the counts, but yeah, like I'm noticing that the buy box is appearing again on a lot, and it's not getting worse as yet, and it's been many weeks as well. So you would have thought if the changes were happening, the change would be pretty much short. They'd be done and dusted. Change would be done in a day or an hour or like a week, rather than like a very slow process. So it is interesting in that sense. But it will be something that I'll still monitor, and if I notice anything different to what I've currently just discussed on this video and the last one, I'll obviously bring out another video. But as it is, it seems that they are obviously trying to get a bit more competitive with some products, because it is a bit expensive. But at the same time, some of them are reverting back. So it's interesting what's going to happen in the future Anyway, that's going to be the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, or you got a little bit more of an update more than anything. Just what I've noticed, because not everyone's going to able to basically monitor everything all the time. It just happens that I can do it because I want to I'm just interested, or I'm curious, and obviously I can make a video on it. So win-win, where a lot of people probably wouldn't be as clued up. So you don't really, if this is how it is for now, I'd say it shouldn't be getting any worse, but I'll keep an eye on it and give you an update once I see any changes. So anyway, have a great evening, and I'll see you on the next one.